Finally got you here.
Good to see you.
Good
You
to see you,
too.
mate. Good to see you.
You both well?
Aye, pretty good. He's just had a vegan breakfast sandwich.
Rotten.
Managed to convince him into trying the Tesco vegan breakfast sandwich.
I see what he does is I'm standing there and I'm at the pea spit and you're in Tesco. The one you want to go for is that chicken Caesar wrap.
Yep.
Get what I'm talking about?
Aye.
Why don't you try the vegan option? Try the vegan option. Of course, because he wants to put it on his Instagram. To take the pee out of me.
Well, do you know, I've been trying to, for the two years we've been doing the show together, 2.5. I've been trying to get him to go meat free at least one afternoon a week.
Right.
You know, never mind one day a week.
How successful has it been?
Well,
Disaster.
well, there was one week he done. He was going, no, I really want you to go for this.
Right.
Just try to be vegan. Try to
It
be
was
vegan.
it was veganuary.
Right.
And he was bringing in
I was cooking for him.
McPlants, which was all right.
Aye.
And then there was like vegan places in Glasgow. Now, a lot of them were nice, right?
Mhm.
But there was some that were howling right, but I didn't want to say because obviously it's you know,
Aye.
I don't want to be coming on here and telling somebody's business like their fake macaroni cheese is rotten. But I did try my best. But what he does know, I was getting him and going straight to get the real gear.
Well, he
The real gear.
no, he got wind of it the first day, so I'd brought him in a McPlant. I think we got off to a good start because he liked it, McPlant.
Right.
And then he'd brought in a sausage and egg McMuffin because he knew
Aye.
the McPlant wouldn't fill him up. True story.
Whipped out of my pocket.
True.
But aye, he's a big vegan Crofty. He doesn't like to mention it.
I don't like to talk about it.
Aye.
So you've been together 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
How did it start in the first place? How did the two of you end up on the show?
Do you want to tell a story? Or?
Well,
There's probably two different sides to the story, actually.
I mean, so I got you text me, you approached me December
Yep.
2019 and said there was a new radio station starting up. I was doing pantomime at the time. Asked me to meet you at a hotel, the Citizen M in Glasgow, in between a panto run, and he turned up, sunglasses on, hat, bag pack, you know, kind of like a spy. He's like,
Can I just caveat this by saying that for the first time I had just got a new pair of sunglasses that were prescription.
Right.
Right, so it's the first time I've worn sunglasses that I can actually see out of. So you forget you're wearing them because it's just you can see. So
dead shifty. Right, there's a new radio station starting. Yeah, this is solely between us. This is so big plans. We've got big plans. This station. They want us to do the breakfast show.
no, that's not what I said.
Right. Well, what did you say then? You tell it then. That's all I remember. Is you turned up like a spy, and I was going, "Who's this guy?"
I was about to. I'd left radio. I
Right.
decided I was going to go into nursing.
Mm-hmm.
Something I'd always wanted to do, and so before I started my degree course, an ex-boss of mine, I had got in touch, Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Hi Tracy, if you're watching this. So she had said, look, we're going to start up this new radio station, blah blah blah, in Glasgow. I'd like you to come along. So I'd always thought I'll go along because I work with Tracy at Global, and I thought, right, I'll help you set it up, blah blah blah. So I'll help find the talent. So we're testing really. So
Right.
I saw Grado on Test Drive. And
Oh, the game show.
The game
Aye.
show, right?
Scotland's number one game show.
It was the worst game show in the world ever, right? It's about people driving their car, right? The thing I noticed about it is,
Outrageous.
it was the whole concept they'd stolen from me in the first place from a radio competition that we did like 6 months before. But anyway, so I noticed Grado was doing this, wearing the worst shell suits in the world ever, right? But then there was a bit in the middle where he was speaking, and he was actually being like proper like TV game show type guy.
Right.
I thought,
Give me the game test drive here. You get in the car, try and get to the end of the route in as little time as possible and less miles.
yeah, that was that. That was like
Something
that.
like that.
Yeah, it was like that. I thought this guy's got something. So then I started watching some other stuff that he was in. I thought he's actually quite funny as well. So I then said to my boss, "Look, I've got a great idea for the breakfast show." Right? But at this point, I was not planning on doing going back on the radio. I'd been off the radio for years.
Right.
So he, as part of the team that I was trying to build, Grado was part of it. Part of a kind of crew for the breakfast show to sound a wee bit different. Anyway, so we went along to Citizen M, and me and the big boss were meeting him. So at that point, it was just a case of trying to get Grado on the show.
Did you fancy it right away, or
Oh,
were you?
aye. 100%. I remember always driving. I used to work in the fire brigade, and I would drive to my work and hear Chris Moyles in the morning. I go, wow, that must be, you know what I mean? Get up early, go in, talk on the radio, done for 10 o'clock up the road. I was always like, that sounds brilliant. I've always kind of listened to radio stuff like that and get into podcasts and stuff. So I just thought this would be a really good opportunity as well, because I mean, at that point I was presenting game shows, doing wrestling, doing pantomime. It was like ticking off all these wee things, and I always love to try stuff. And so when he told me about it, I was right up for it. And it came at a decent time as well, because we launched during the lockdown, didn't we?
We didn't know that at the time though, because it was just before. That was December before. We went into the kind of lockdown that year. But the whole point after that was then to demo for the show. So we had loads of different people demoing for the show. And Grado was in doing his thing, demoing, telling. He's a great storyteller anyway. So he was really, really funny, naturally funny, authentic, bit vulnerable as well. One of the first stories he told was, well, I can't really say it actually. What
are you talking about?
Remember the story about how you split up from your ex-girlfriend? I don't think we can talk. I think we'll leave that there.
I mean, what did I tell you? Don't be getting in here embarrassing me.
Well, I've pulled out.
5 minutes.
Listen, I've pulled out.
Man.
Right, I've pulled out. So there's a whole load of demos, and what we couldn't find was the anchor. And in my head, I was still planning and going to do my nursing degree. I was helping set up the radio station with a little kind of eye on possibility I might, because I used to be the program director back in the day and run programming teams. So I'd never planned to be on air again. And so I stepped in to do the demo. To cut a long story short, because it is quite boring, I stood in to do the demo with me, Grado, and a few other people that were testing at the time. And the boss said, I want you to do the show to me. And I went, no. It's not for me. I'm not going back on the radio. I've had enough of that game. I'm going to be a nurse. That's what I've decided. You know what I mean? I'll help you do all the work to set up and get all the talent in that I think we should look at. And it wasn't really that hard a decision in the end when we started doing stuff, because it was just a bit of a laugh, and it's and the rest is history. We've been together now. We launched the show during a pandemic. And did
you have the fear about that, about it launching during COVID?
Well, let's see what happened in the first show.
Well, that's the truth though. I mean, it's no secret, I don't think.
So the first show that we ever done, we were just taking obviously we were launching the idea was to pre-record it the night before at 6 p.m. To get the show pre-recorded and to get it out for 6 in the morning. So we started at 6 o'clock at night, didn't we?
Yeah, because of the pandemic, we couldn't get in a studio together.
So we could, we couldn't be.
So we're trying to get it all.
So we started pre-recording this at 6 p.m. at night. What time did we wrap? What time did we manage to get it done for?
5 in the morning.
5 in the morning.
Right, it was a whole long story.
Everything was going wrong. At one point, what happened to me?
Well, he kept having. What was it you were drinking that night?
I'm not I was drinking. I was drinking, right? It was lockdown. Everybody was doing it. It was like 3 weeks into lockdown.
It was his first radio show, and he was like, "I'm going to have a what was it you were having?"
Jack Daniels.
Was that a wee Jack Daniels?
A wee Jack Daniels.
Just to calm the nerves.
Just to calm the nerves, And because I don't think we had cameras either. When it wasn't like Zoom, it was like Skype, but we could just hear each other.
It was like
we didn't really know each other either, so it's like biffing out.
But the story you're talking about is he ended up falling asleep. So there's a period
recording
during the show.
Middle of the night.
There's a period between 8:30 and 9:15 that there was no Grado on the show because I couldn't wake him up. So I eventually, because he was there, I could hear him snoring, right? So I had to. So eventually, what I did is now the alarm you get in your iPhone. I set that off and put it against the microphone. And all I heard was whoa, 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 whoa. And that was him back in the game. So then we made sure that we got recording studio. But we're lucky where Go is. We have a fully fledged recording studio, Gorble Sound.
That's tremendous.
Where all your top acts go and record their albums. You know.
That is a brilliant place.
Your Paulos, your Simple Minds, and you know, Lewis Capaldi.
But it's not just that as well. So when you walk in, it's like you see like Facebook headquarters and Google. You know the way it's set out and stuff like that. I feel as if it's got that vibe. It's dead modern.
It's
And
urban cool. I would
Right,
say you
okay.
walk in, it's an urban cool kind of place. Anyway, so we basically set up this recording studio so that we could have a booth each, and we recorded in separate booths. We could see each other.
Aye.
And we could do
Because
it
of the lockdown,
in the
couldn't
time.
we?
So,
right,
aye,
okay.
so that was once. We did it once, and we thought we're not doing that again.
What a first day that is.
I know,
Aye.
man. It was
But
brutal.
it was great to eventually get back into the
Did
studio.
you think you just dozed off for like 5 minutes or something?
I woke up and I was like, what kind of impression is this to make before I sleep? First day in the job, do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm sorry about that. But it was hard going, but obviously we made the decision, we managed to get the studio sorted, and we were in different booths and stuff like that.
And you know,
Obviously, 'cause
and
it's quite
and
big.
radio stations across the world were doing it like that as well. You know, for
Aye.
a long time. But eventually, when we did get in the studio, that's when I feel like we really started
Aye.
to really have fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
What was your first impressions of each other?
I don't know, like, my first impressions of you. Let's see here. First impressions.
you can be honest. You know,
He's got nervous in case I say hated his guts.
no,
No.
you be
No,
honest.
I don't know.
So I'm going to be honest.
What did you think about me?
Hey, I thought this guy is quite forthright and forthcoming.
Aye.
The first thing he said to me, and I mean, we hadn't even sat down yet. He went, "Right, am I getting this job or not?" That was the first thing he said to me. And I liked that. I thought that's quite cool. And then we talked about. I forgot my sunglasses were on because they were prescribed, right?
Aye.
I said, "This is really top secret. We can't let anybody know about this, right?" And he goes, I can see it's top secret.
Aye.
Still wearing your sunglasses." So then we had a laugh about that, and I took my sunglasses off, and
Aye. Right here, right. So I would say when I first met you, it took me a couple of weeks to warm to you because you were the guy that kind of set everything up, right?
yeah.
But it doesn't matter what I thought about then. It's no. No, seriously, because it takes time.
Aye.
It does take time, and we see each other 5 days a week for 5 to 6 hours a morning. So you spend that much time, you build. I mean, who was the first person? I mean, he was the first person that I told out with my brother when my girlfriend was pregnant.
Aye.
She had the gamete that tells positive.
Yeah.
It's a test positive. This was saying a COVID test. Aye, right. You know what I mean?
Aye.
He was like one of the first guys, and I go to him for quite a lot of advice. But I think with stuff like radio shows and all that, it does take time because obviously at the start I wanted to take the mickey out of him.
Aye.
But because you don't know him that well, you're like,
Aye. Where's the boundaries?
aye, you know that way. Whereas we've spent enough time that now I can come in, he can tell me stuff, and I can get on it right away and pelt him, and he can pelt on me,
Aye.
and it's brilliant.
I think I totally agree with that. I think it does take time with anything though. With any people, you know, duels or whatever, radio shows to get chemistry. But
Aye.
I think it was nice when you told me about I think when you start telling personal stuff, the thing about the radio show now is we don't actually really know if we've got the mics down or up. And I think that's a sign of it, you know, because it's a lot of stuff that's on air is very similar to the stuff that we're talking off air.
As if he's just chatting
Aye.
in general.
I've not done radio since I've come back to radio.
Aye.
You don't really do radio when you're working with Grado because he doesn't do radio.
Aye.
It's like, what's going to happen today? I drive into work every day thinking, I have no idea what's going to happen
Do you
today.
prefer that though? That kind of
Aye,
off the
well, I'll
cuff?
tell you
It
what,
needs to be for me, man,
Aye.
because it's like, as I say, I mean, it's like, I remember the first time you put me, you need to do traffic and travel with it. It's slow traffic for M8 Junction 2.
Nah, it was nothing like that. But
And then don't get me wrong, it was good because at least my first morning was a truck failure and all the tatties fell out there.
we just have a laugh. But you know, the laugh was the guy from Two Doors Down and River City, 6 episodes of River City.
8 episodes.
He was the guy that was reading the travel. So there was something quite funny about that.
Aye.
You know,
Aye.
the wrestler reading your travel. But he's good at it. He's playing himself down. He's actually quite good at it.
No, I'm the best in Scotland now.
Aye. Just throw it right out there.
But he doesn't need to do that now. We've got
I
a
suppose as
producer.
well, but you probably spend more time with each other than you do with your missus and your kids and that. So you need to get on
Aye.
as you kind of develop the show.
Definitely. Aye, without a doubt. Aye, we do, and we do a lot of stuff. So, I mean, we don't hang about with each other outside. do we not?
No chance.
That's different level, man. We nearly one time he was soft cut and asked me to come to where was it? We were going to go together, Loch Lomond Holiday Park.
Aye.
But I think once he's sobered up, he was like, by the way, see that weekend we said we'd go together, we've changed our mind.
No, I did once invite him to my summer house. Everybody was getting little like sheds in the back garden converted into summer houses, and we've kind of both done that. Nothing special, just a wee kind of sanctuary, And there was one night I was sitting and a voice happed him saying, "Mate, you should come over one Saturday and we can watch the football and da da da." And I woke up the next morning, I'm like,
aye. I'm like, Stefan, Crofty's asked me to come into his bit for a baby. I'm not like that.
That is tremendous. It's like an awkward ex. I don't know what to reply.
I think we're a wee bit scared to do anything out with. Extracurricular activities, I think.
Because we fell out a few times, didn't we?
Once.
I'd
say once.
Once was a big one.
Aye.
But I always think it's good to fall out with somebody. Do you get what I mean by that?
Well, most of your pals you fell out with.
That's exactly what I mean.
Aye.
That's exactly what I mean. He ruined my birthday last year.
I did.
How did you ruin his
birthday?
birthday?
Did you pre-record something, an interview in the
Euros.
station?
It was a Euros.
Right.
So we were interviewing, I think it was Kevin Gallagher or something like that.
Aye. But because I was doing 2 doors down, so I was doing 2 doors down for 7 in the morning, 7 at night.
Mm-hmm.
I've got digs in Glasgow when they do 2 doors down.
Right.
And it was just like it's just a walk for where my digs are to the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Get there about 8 o'clock and it was my birthday. And it was like, everything was going wrong with it.
What was it? Everything was going wrong. I think we were going to be delayed a wee bit. And he'd ordered a Just Eat or something like that.
It was my birthday.
Right, so he'd ordered a
wings.
Just Eat. And I'm like, I said,
absolutely.
Buffalo.
We're going to be here probably at 10:30. You said 10. I'm like, mate.
No, you went, well, if you want to do this, you can kind of done all that kind of spit in the dummy. Well, if you think you can do it, why don't you do it then? I went, who are you talking to?
I'm like, what do you mean? Listen, mate, you can go away at 10. I don't need you. I can work the equipment. You can't. So we had a major fallout. But the funniest thing about it was, it wasn't funny at the time, actually. It was a proper
set.
They were rolling a bit of flair.
Almost. But we were proper really angry with each other, and then we had to actually, go
Did the show?
Did this interview.
So you did an interview fuming with each other.
Raging. Honestly, we were raging with each other during it. And so as it happened, we got to the car park, and it was like, right, see you tomorrow. And so he walked to his car, and I walked to mine. I was about to in the car, and he walked by and went, "Want to go to the pub?" I'm like, no, really. See you tomorrow. So that kind of broke the ice, and we knew everything was okay. But that was the first time, and I say it was the biggest argument.
Good though. Healthy, innit?
That's what I said.
Aye, it was healthy. It was healthy. I wanted to kick his head in, to be honest, but I don't know how healthy that was. And he probably did the same, but I don't.
No, you ruined my birthday, but
no,
it was my birthday. You know what I mean?
Memorable birthday, but for the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
Did you get your Just Eat?
Got my Just Eat. Aye. Got my
Small wins. Small wins.
That's it. Aye. That's one of the benefits of staying up in Glasgow. The Just Eat to the door. You and Stevenson, all we've got is kebab shop, Chinese and Indian. See when I come up to Glasgow and it's like, wow, an Egyptian meal, an Afghani restaurant and Cypriot and all that. It's like, whoa, love it.
Disneyland.
Ken.
Oh man. What were you both like at school? I was curious to know what you are both like when you were kind of 15, 16. What did you want to do, job-wise?
Well, I'll go first. It's dead easy. I wanted to do radio since I was like 12.
Right.
So I probably was not really doing much with anybody else other than recording radio shows and trying to get on West Sound or something like that. When I was like 15, making jingles and stuff. So I was probably doing all that and DJing at the weekend. So at school was getting in the way really for me. But I mean, I enjoyed school. I liked it. But I was, and you get the cool kids, and you get the other end. I was kind of in the middle. The people just didn't know how to couldn't work me out, so I was kind of left alone.
It's good though, under the radar, innit?
A wee bit. It was a bit like that. Aye.
I suppose all my stuff was like class clown, easily distracted.
Aye.
That kind of stuff at parents' night. Doesn't know when to stop talking. That kind of idea. What did I want to be when I was young? I always wanted to. I say for the age of 12, wanted to be a wrestler. I always wanted to be a wrestler, and a policeman as well. I wanted to be in the police.
Do you know what? You were asking me about research, right? So, am I right in saying that you were a community warden doing an hairdressing?
Glad you brought that up.
Talk me through what a community warden does.
Wow. So I mean, I actually was a youth worker, right? I got an apprenticeship in youth work, and it came to the end of the contract. You could either go and do a community education degree, or the council would possibly try and find you a job.
Right.
I wanted to be a police officer, right? So I thought, I had spoke to a couple of cops, and they said that would be a good way to get in it.
Right.
Is doing this community warden. So I went. This was, bear in mind, I'm like 19, 20-year-olds, and I was the youngest guy there by at least. There was one guy maybe in his late 30s, but the rest were all retired cops. They were all in their 50s and 60s. Basically, walking about Ardrossan, red hat, red jumper, steelies, basically looking out for folk that don't pick up their dug. Taking pictures of folks' grass if they've not cut their grass. Like, I mean, he's a 19-year-old boy doing that, like, gone up to stand outside with a big red jumper or a red hat and cut, what are you doing taking a picture in it? What are you taking a photo? You need to cut your grass. You receive a letter for the council in the next 7 to 10 days. Get it cut. I mean, honestly, it was had to deal with antisocial behaviour. We went about in a van, and you know, we'd get a thing called divert, so we'd get calls to if there's any reports of like young folk kicking off and stuff like that.
Oh,
but these were all guys that were like the same age as me, and I'm turning up.
Was it folk you knew?
I didn't know them, no, because it was like I stayed in Stevenson and they stayed in Ardrossan. But when it came to the weekends and I'm out in Salkits where everybody went to drink, that's when it was like, because what was it they used to call us? The rednecks, because we were the rednecking, or the red mafia. They'd call us the red mafia. But don't get me wrong, it was good learning how to deal with folk. And because I mean, you'd walk down the street and folk would shout, "Get a real job." There was folk that would throw eggs, and I mean, it was intense, man. As a 19-year-old.
Do you still have them? Like,
no, they got rid of them.
That's a shame. That'd be a great TV show, wouldn't it?
Aye,
that's a Netflix, isn't it?
It was a mega eye opener, but it was like I thought it would be like a natural thing to do the community wardens and then going to do the police thing. So, but I never really quite got to it.
Did you apply for the post?
Oh, aye, twice.
Yes, I'm glad you asked him that actually. He did all right. He went quite far.
The second one, the first one was a complete washout because I ended up talking about the bill and all that.
What, in the actual interview?
Aye, but it was when I was at the cadets and all this. And listen, I'm a big fan of the bill and all this. The second, it was really, really bad, man, because it put me under pressure. It was like, and then they were asking me, what's your thoughts about sectarianism and all that? And I was like, you know, I hate hearing the sash. I just hate hearing that. Okay, I mean, I just couldn't. I wasn't good at like, putting words together, right?
Articulate.
Articulate my words and stuff like that. The second interview, what was it that happened to me there? I got to the last. I got to the last kick of the ball, and it was, what would you do the night, Graham? You get a job as a police officer the night you're out in Salkits and you see somebody getting a down,
right?
And I was honest. I was like, well, if I saw somebody kind of doing, I've just, you know, got my job in the police, I'd probably kind of turn a blind eye to it and walk away. I was being honest. Like, I probably would have, like, got away from you, man. I've just got a job in the police. And he went, but then they turn it on you and go, so you would have left that guy to get brain damage. You would stand up in court as a police officer. What I did was I changed my mind. I went, oh, see, you say that, I probably would turn up, right? But that's how they get you. They want, see if I stuck to my guns. I went, that's really no any of my issue. If I had stuck to my guns and backed it up, they would have. It shows that you've got, like, I don't know, what is it? So you've got,
you're sticking to your principles,
principles and stuff like that. So I never got that. What I really wanted to do, but was because I remember the day of the interview, they were like, in the morning you get the I was going to say the costume fitting, the uniform fitting, the uniform fitting, and I just was like, I can't even believe I'm going to be a cop, like, try on all the gear. So I was gutted when I never got it, but obviously I managed to get take off one of my fantasies when I go to Scots Squad gigs. So it was like, so then it's not been as just bad. I think I don't know how my life would have turned out if I actually did get the job as a post, but I was desperate to get it. I was obsessed with it.
I can't believe you brought up the bill.
No, man, absurd.
What did the guy say?
He's rolling their eyes. It was a complete washout. Complete washout. But that was only for the cadets. But as I say, it's worked out for the better. I mean, I did end up going to the fire brigade at the second one. I never got the job at the post, but then I got the job in the fire brigade, working in the control room, which I'd done for like 10 years, which was brilliant. I loved it.
So they obviously didn't mind, did he? He loved London's Burning.
Aye. Classic. I'm going to adopt that my next interview. Try and match your telly programme that we're talking about. I love it. You went to uni.
I was about to go to uni.
You
I was
right.
about to go to uni to do nursing. But radio, I did special education.
Right, okay.
I worked in special ed for many years, and then came out of that to do broadcasting. I've been in broadcasting for quite a bit.
What was the nursing appeal for you? If you like, because obviously you'd wanted to
just-
do radio, and
I'd always wanted to do radio, which has never felt like a job. It's
Right.
just been fun, you know.
Mhm.
It's been that passion, you know, that thing that you're doing where you go every day and you're like, when's this going to end? You know, this is too good to be true.
Mhm.
And it's always been fun. I've loved every minute of it. And then as you get on and you've been in the industry a long time and it changes and you know and different things happen within the industry and you end up doing a lot of different roles in it, you then think, do you know what? I want to do something a bit more worthwhile.
Mhm.
And I really have always thought it was mental health nursing
Right.
originally that I was really interested in, because in radio you work with a lot of people and mental health has come into it indirectly. You weren't aware of it back in the day, but then as people were starting to realise that mental health was such an important subject, you know, to address in a workplace,
aye,
no matter where you work, I thought that's something that I really want to do, because I feel that I was good at communicating with people, and I like working with people, and I actually really thought that it would have been an ideal career move to do something and make a bit of a difference. I know it sounds really corny,
aye,
but it was like making a bit of a difference and doing something a bit more worthwhile. And
aye.
I do have so much respect
Mhm.
for all the nurses and everybody who works with the NHS
Yeah.
and social care or whatever.
Mhm.
I think the pandemic has shown that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was just before the pandemic. So I would have been going in, I'd have been qualifying next year.
Uh-huh.
In fact, next semester.
Right.
And I would have been starting it coming out of the pandemic.
And then this
So-
man came into your life.
And then this all happened. Yeah, so this all happened. So, yeah.
But I remember when you were like studying for it, going away for maths exams and stuff like that, weren't you?
Aye. So it was just,
Why did you do maths for nursing, by the way?
well, you need to be able to prescribe medicine.
Oh, 10 milligrams and all that.
Aye, yeah.
You right? You'll go back to it at some point.
Hopefully, man.
I always think about it because obviously I speak to people that were starting as well,
Aye.
you know, and they're nearly qualified. I do think
Mhm.
if the radio thing comes to an end, but I'm getting older now, so I don't know.
You should go for it.
Maybe we'll just maybe we'll end up seeing out till my mortgage paid off and I won't actually make it to nursing. Do you know Cliff Richard? It's a true story, right? He always wanted to be a teacher.
Right.
So he'd become a pop star, and then he decided that it wasn't for him, and he thought, I'm going to be a teacher. So he was just about to go and start training to be a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and then another opportunity came in, working with the churches and doing all that with music, and then he never ever went back to teaching. And I thought, do you know what? I can totally relate to that.
Hold on a minute.
A random story.
But I feel like, man,
How do you know this?
because I read his book. But the
You read
thing is,
Cliff Richard's book?
I read Cliff Richard's
When?
book a few years back, but do you know what I mean? So I think
See what I mean, man? Did you
So
see the contrast, the
but I'm
difference?
thinking
in personality? He's sitting reading Cliff Richard's books.
So I'm thinking Cliff Richard probably, you know, has always thought, I could go back to doing teaching, but he's kind of went. It's
What
just
would
never
Cliff do?
Aye.
What would Cliff have done?
So
Cliff Richard never watches this. He's like, that's the one guy that's bought my book.
it's a good book. It's a good book. Very inspirational.
Oh, it's funny, man.
Never seen that story coming, mate. That is fucking, that's out there, man.
That's what I mean. You know, I probably wouldn't have told you that story 2.5 years ago, but when we're sitting together, it's stuff like that you end up telling, you know.
I've just got visions of you reading this, working in radio, right? Reading this Cliff Richard book and going, fuck it, I'm going to be a nurse. That's it. Change my job. That's me. I'm done. I'm out. Cliff showed me the way. Oh, tremendous.
Where'd you go after that? Anyway, how did you get into this?
Just before lockdown, and it was always something I wanted to do. Do you know something? I said this before on podcast. See, in like Scotland, I'm not saying everybody does it, but folk doing so much, man.
Oh, brutal.
Folk do something and folk are like, fucking, who does he think he is? So he's
Aye.
forgot where he's came from, or there's just no kind of, fair play.
Yeah.
Get away and done something, and
You're right, Anna. It's
Well
the same.
done.
It's like Scotland football players. Like we
Aye.
build them up, and then like
Aye, but when did you think I'm going to do a podcast? What's
Well,
that
I just thought, you see people online and that are successful, be it they could just be doing their job or they could have a business or whatever. And you then start to think, I wonder how they got to that stage. How they've grafted. Because a few people I interviewed early doors came for schemes like myself. Didn't have a lot of money. So I think that's what enticed me. And I'm like, how did you get from there to there? Because there's a lot of folk that I've grew up with that haven't done much with their lives. And I don't know, I just think stories like that, you want to make them achievable to people so that you can watch it and go, I could go and do that. Or,
Inspire them.
aye, 100%, mate.
Definitely.
But I just think you're on socials now, there's so much negativity, man. You put a post up about something and folk just want to tear it down, you're like, let folk enjoy their life, man.
That's just brutal, isn't it? So much that Twitter's
do you know
quite
what,
mad for all that.
That's good. That's good that was your reason for wanting to do it.
And they Cliff Richard book, mate, just off the cuff, man. Just
Have
off
you
the
tried
cuff.
to get him on the podcast yet, no?
Well, after this, he's 100% getting tagged in this. But I just email folk and ask if they want to come on.
Ah, cool.
It's
Oh,
good.
Is there anybody that you've sent a message and you've like, they'll never get back?
that's good.
or-
That's a good question. Good question.
Get a lot of out folk. Cy Ferry,
He didn't want that.
I've not heard from him.
Aye.
Messaged him, not heard anything. A lot of folk asked me, do you know Jamie Genevieve?
Yes.
A lot of folk asked me to get her on. Tried again, but nothing. But her story's phenomenal.
I don't really know her story. I follow her other half. Is it Jack?
Aye.
We tried to get him on the radio show. It was a week you were off, Gina McKee. I done it with Gina McKee. He's doing well as well, isn't he? He's
Aye.
like, I don't even know exactly what it is he does, but he seems mega successful.
I think he does a lot of the video stuff and photography stuff
Aye.
for Jamie, but she started on a makeup counter in a tune.
Brilliant.
And now she's got her own business. And
That's right. Everybody knows about it.
Aye.
Do you know who we're talking about?
100%.
Aye.
Of course I do.
Um,
No. I mean, she did something for a radio station I worked at a few years ago, and it was at I think it was the Centre of Livingston,
Right.
and
I think she's for like Stirling or something originally. I'm
Is
sure
it?
she's got
Aye.
it out that way.
well, I tell you what, I thought, who is this girl? Looked at her stuff. I think she's brilliant
Mhm.
on social and all that.
Aye.
But see, when we went to do it at the Centre of Livingston, she was one of the people that were signed to do a kind of makeup demonstration.
Mhm.
The place was mobbed,
Aye.
absolutely mobbed.
It's millions.
Yeah.
Like followers and that. But see something like that came for just working somewhere, seen an idea and
Mhm.
went with it and built a brand. But
It's good. I like hearing stories about that, especially since because what I liked about folk during lockdown,
Mhm.
there was so many people starting their own businesses
Aye.
and going, right,
Aye.
by the way, I need to kind of do something here. This is quite dodgy. And like,
Aye.
say for example, I'm just picking one out, like the last in command that sells cheese boards.
Aye.
Right?
Aye.
Yeah, I mean that's what
Aye.
folk are doing, like putting up a wee box of cheese and meats and
Aye.
thing and stuff like that, and selling them, put them on, and seeing the amount of people. It was brilliant to see folk with their ideas and
Aye.
I've just gone for it because I've got
Aye.
nothing to lose.
100%. Because
So
that's their
we-
world.
Aye.
That idea.
Aye.
It's that whole kind of, and you want to get folk on to kind of talk about how they done it and
Aye.
how successful they were. But there's loads of folk like that I've reached out to, but I just kind of, you're not going to get everybody. You're
Mm.
never going to get everybody. Alan McCoy's is a dream, man. That's the dream. I chuck it after that. That's it. Done.
He's your hero, aye.
Oh, he's just such a personable guy.
Aye.
See, when you see him
Oh.
on the telly or the radio, or
He's the best co-commentator
Oh,
on the
He's,
planet. He's brilliant.
I'm with you. He's my
Aye.
ultimate hero.
it's just a natural.
yeah.
I've got like I love The Rock. I love.
Aye.
Who else do I love? Love Ricky Gervais. Love Larry David.
Aye.
All that.
I agree with Ricky
Super
Gervais.
Aye.
What about Drew McIntyre?
He's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Aye, he's a dream. He's a dream, man.
Big Daddy?
Deed, mate.
Jack and
He died in
Haystacks?
90. He's also dead. He's also dead. Who them are dead, mate? I'm
I used
sticking
to watch them. I used to watch them on a Saturday.
Aye.
WWF. That was my staple growing up.
I don't do wrestling. I really. If
You
you're
try-
gonna,
you
if you're
try-
going to start talking wrestling, I'm out.
You must have watched WWF as a kid.
No,
What?
no,
man.
no. Giant Haystacks,
Where's it?
fat, Big Daddy.
This is before, he
Fat
was
Daddy.
there before WWF and it was on, like, do you ever hear like, folks say when wrestling was on a Saturday afternoon? Because it was massive and, like, see...
What was that, ITV or something,
Aye,
wasn't
it
it?
was on World of Sport. It was on
Aye.
every Saturday and it got, like, as many views as, like, the FA Cup final. It was that big. That was his
Nah.
kind of era.
I don't get it personally.
He missed the whole Hulk Hogan, Jake the
I
Snake
know who
and
he
all that.
is.
And
I know who he is. And remember we interviewed Drew McIntyre?
Aye.
And I was like,
Biffing out, we can ask this guy, what we do.
Well, I
But
was
don't
like-
get me wrong, this is like me when, because he knows a lot about music and stuff,
Aye.
and we get people and I have no idea who they are. You know what I mean? Like the guy for Beautiful South and all that. I'm like, what am I going to ask?
aye, but see before we came in, did you like half an hour before you got here, just Google us a wee bit and just see what we are, or did you do proper research?
No, I do my research, mate.
All right, well,
I do my research before I ask the
What did you
question.
find out about him?
I found it quite a
Did,
bit
he,
about
did you
him.
find out that he hosted Arbroath Gala Day with Frank Bruno?
No.
In the 90s?
Frank
Oh,
Bruno?
there you go.
I'm not telling the story, but it's true.
Done the roadshow? Was it a roadshow that was or something?
It was a roadshow. There was a stage
How
and
does
everything.
Frank Bruno end up in Arbroath?
Was he not
Aye.
going? Was he not going with my woman for Glasgow at one point?
Aye, but he was booked. Like you would get him. Yeah,
I thought you said he was booed. I'm like,
No, he's booked.
That's
No,
harsh, man.
He was booked to go along to the Arbroath Gala Day. I was working at a radio station in Dundee at the time, and so I was hosting it, and Frank was the guest, and there you go. That's the story. He was a lovely guy.
Have you ever been starstruck with people you've had on the show?
Good question, actually, isn't it?
I don't try to think.
Oh.
We had Mark Owen in the other week, and I was a bit kind of, all right, mate. How you doing, Mark?
Well, see, the thing is, did you notice that he was, because we got on the Zoom, right, and we said, we'll get a camera and we want to see you,
Mhm.
you know, so we could get a wee bit of video content out of it.
Mhm.
And did you notice he was in his house coat?
Oh,
And
aye.
he's just at the shower?
'Cause I don't know if he actually knew we were putting him on Zoom because it was radio.
Aye.
I think a lot of folk do that.
But I didn't know. I didn't even know when we did the interview that he was in a house coat. So,
Probably sitting in full
so all
scud.
the Take That fans.
Come
are
on, there
like
must be
mental.
better ones that we've got starstruck about. Than Mark Owen. There's better ones than that. We've had pretty good interviews.
I know we have.
Uri Geller, he lost his nut. I was like, he's going off his nut. wasn't he?
Aye, aye.
Oh,
Oh,
because
he's some Rommy's connection at his end.
Oh, right.
Where
blaming
was
it
he?
Russ
Where
calling his dead unprofessional. Shut up. I was like, he's never getting. I want to be on him again,
Aye,
man. Who's
aye.
Uri Geller anyway? What were we even doing getting him?
I
Because
know.
it was, we were all
I
trying to do that angle.
Aye.
Was he going to move the ball? Because I think it was with Scotland.
It was,
and Wales.
aye, I was sure it was. It
I
was.
was
it
like, why
was.
are we even entertaining
Do you
this
know? Do
daft
you know what?
anyway?
Though? See, since that interview, I've not. That's why we can't find our teaspoons. I haven't seen a teaspoon since that.
Bent them on, hid them.
I don't know. I don't know. Has there been anybody that we've been like?
I'm trying.
Do you know? But because we a bit like yourself, we talk to a lot of people that are
Sometimes you
Glasgow
get
and the West.
desensitised with all that.
Do you get
Sometimes I
ones that
think-
have... What about ones that have come on, you've just had brilliant chat right for the get-go with them?
I
Just
would,
to
I would
kinda...
say most people. I think.
Aye,
I mean, Elaine C. Smith,
she's brilliant.
Alec Norton,
Mm-hmm.
really good.
My mind's gone pure blank.
So, I know.
Man.
I know we're going to walk out here and we're going like, why did we not mention them?
Aye, we're re-recording our 40 seconds. Like, what
Aye.
a name.
No, I cannot think of anybody. I think
Boy George.
Boy George. He
What?
was cool.
Aye,
Aye,
Boy
he
How
was
did you
cool.
forget that?
Yeah, honestly,
Aye,
he's
but
brilliant.
the thing is, though, we're genuinely big fans of Boy George.
Aye.
But when we
He's
we
a
went,
much bigger fan.
he's playing it down, right? So, by the way, he was playing the Playground Festival, and we were there doing some interviews backstage and all that, right? And we're trying to get now the people in between us and the artists are trying to get Boy George to come and chat to us.
Right.
Anyway, I don't
Mate.
know if they were having much luck, but we decided we were going to stand outside his porter cab.
You know what I mean? What a way to spend your Saturday night. You're telling all your mates on the Sunday, which is up to last night. Spent half the night outside Boy George's dressing
You
room.
sound like a
waiting
groupie. Just to
Aye,
see
no, but it is.
You know what I mean?
But it turns out we were at the wrong porter cabin. And he walked past us with a group of people. I'm like, this Boy
Aye.
George. That was a complete waste.
You know what passes me? Can I show?
Aye, I think it was. I think we ended up outside Martha Reeves or something like that. It's porter cabin. But aye, see, he was pretty cool. But everybody, I can't say we've had an interview where we thought they weren't that
I
good.
just like to see when I have an interview, folk, you be honest yourself sometimes. I hate the running of the mill questions. How's everything been now?
Aye.
As I say, maybe sometimes come on and go, here's your macaroni recipe. I mean,
Aye.
just something
Aye.
to, something daft to kind
Aye.
of break it up a wee bit. Like,
So I'm probably used to hearing the same questions. I
aye,
think.
just I feel as if you want to kind of spice it up a wee bit.
Aye.
Ask something kind of stupid. It was like Marco on last week. He was very reserved, but I was like, well, what can I say? If you got you in a group chat, we take that. Like, he's on a WhatsApp.
But you could tell he was guarded. though.
Aye, he was just
He was really
because you know
guarded.
because what happens is what MD says gets
Aye.
picked up by the press and they twist it. It's
Aye.
happened
Yeah.
numerous times, so
Yeah,
he didn't want to
same.
get away with it,
Aye.
which you can kind of understand.
Aye.
But
do
it
you know,
becomes
do, you,
less.
do you know who I was a bit starstruck by? Barry Ferguson. And we worked with Barry.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Barry Ferguson. Rob McLean, who we worked with.
I was just starstruck at Rob. I can't. Lovely guy, man. I'm starstruck.
Aye, but as I grew up, Rob McLean was the
sports scene,
commentator.
wasn't he?
Aye.
Mate, do you know what he says to me one time? He's like, man, do you know what? See when I die. See when I die, how mad is this, right? But
I can't believe you're telling this.
my brother's going to be at my funeral and just look and go, is that Rob McLean? Is that Rob McLean at my brother's funeral?
Is that the guy for 2 doors down?
You know what I mean?
3 rows behind Cliff.
That's Barry Ferguson. Barry Ferguson will come to my funeral.
Get Rob to do a wee reading.
And actually, it's worth saying, you know, because I loved radio, you know. So I mean, as I told you when I was at school and stuff, I was obsessed with it. So even working with Paul Cooney, and Paul was sports scene, and Paul was somebody I listened to.
I just remember from Super Scoreboard.
Paul Cooney.
You used to listen on a Saturday.
Aye.
You, all the before that, you had all the games on Sky and all that.
Aye.
You hear
That's
that
why
roar.
he's good. That's why he's good to hear, Paul. No, because it does it, mate. It takes you
Aye.
back to
Go Radio Football Show.
Aye.
Go Radio Football Show.
Weeknights, 5 o'clock.
Aye,
That's where Paul Cooney lives now.
you can find him there.
What about anybody that you want on that you've not spoke to yet?
On the show.
Who'd be your ideal?
Well, I must admit, I think he might take this the wrong way, but I reckon I'm all for shooting for the moon sometimes, but sometimes he'll read a story about somebody and go, you should get him on. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm trying to think one's like, I mean, it's not as absurd as David Beckham, but it's no far off. Sometimes he'll read a story, we should definitely get him on. I'm going, mate, they're not going to come on. But I do respect that you're like that, aren't you?
Well, you never know. We are huge fans of, and he's not gonna like me saying this, right? Selling Sunset. Right. So we're watching Selling Sunset. Right. Not together. It's not like we're sitting down with a takeaway watching it or anything, but separately we get obsessed with it. Lockdown was great lockdown kind of escapism for us, right? And we thought, right, who could we get? So I thought Maya from Did you watch Selling Sunset?
They watch it, aye. That's
good.
So Maya's was our favourite, right? And I'm like, I'm going to get Maya on the show. So I followed her on Instagram. And I messaged her on Instagram.
Right.
And she got back to me. And she said, I'd love to come on your show. And we got her on. And she was brilliant. So it can happen.
Oh my God. Oh, that's such an emotional story. It can happen, guys. Keep dreaming.
but you
Go
know
for it.
what?
You can get
But it
Maya
was-
for
it was-
Selling
but I mean-
Sunset.
I mean,
Maya for Selling Sunset.
I tried-
Probably never hear for her ever again in 6 months' time.
Actually, she likes my stuff on Instagram.
She does, aye. He is a bit obsessed with it.
See, it's just like a domino effect. You get to Beckham, then you're just
Well, I
building the
tried.
steps.
Remember, I tried for Rio.
Rio Ferdinand.
I remember. I watched
That's
his
bold.
documentary. And I thought, wow, that guy, I'd love to get him on the show.
To get back to you.
But no, I'll tell you what one thing we did do, right, which I was proud of, was getting Buzz for Home Alone.
Oh, aye.
Oh, brilliant.
But we made a hang of it because it was like, because I followed him on Instagram when they followed me back. And we actually made, like, it was real every day. We would find somebody, because we ended up knowing somebody. It was mental, the stuff we uncovered. We uncovered that Buzz his real name's Devin Rattray. Somebody phoned us up with information that, by the way, I was at his brother's wedding. His brother get married
In Scotland,
I
aye.
was Oban or something like
Aye,
that, and he was
aye.
telling us all his story, and it's how it went, and we eventually got Buzz, and he came on, and honestly, it was, and Go done it on. I love the big video package, and it was like it was like Grado finds Buzz, and eventually when he come on the Zoom, and the way the video was made, Go had done a brilliant job. It was like
Oh, the Home Alone music.
it gives me goosebumps thinking about it when he finally
aye.
come on the Zoom and I got talking to Buzz. Buzz, he messaged me no that.
Aye,
long
but
ago.
I mean, so I mean, that's his Maya.
That's brilliant.
That's not mine.
That's that full family treat to get
Aye.
to.
Aye, but it was a whole journey, and it was played out on the radio. Are we going to get him? Because you remember you're speaking to that reporter in America,
Aye.
and he was trying to get a hold of him as well, but eventually got him, which was great.
If you've got one to know that you would just, if they agreed to, you'd be like, fucking unbelievable.
What's one now? Probably somebody for Love Island.
Aye.
I've never watched an
Mate,
episode
I'm
of
telling
Love
you,
Island.
It's pathetic,
Oh,
man.
it's
Right? As I seen him the other day, right? It is ridiculous. There's so much. There's that much stuff out there now in terms of box sets, Netflix, and stuff like that. But yeah, man, Love Island, I love it. It's a bit. I swear to God,
You
I
always
can't.
watched it?
I got into it 2018.
Same, I got into it same year.
2018. I know it's pathetic. It is ridiculous, but I get obsessed with it and I get writing about it and I sit and I'm on Twitter about it and find out what folks saying about it. I don't know what it is, but
I'm taking notes.
He
I watch it and
takes
takes
notes
notes.
the next morning.
Because what we
For
talk
folk
about.
that listen to the show, they must hate when we talk about it because we get right in about it.
I had a Tyler out just the other night to price up a job for me and in the house, and he came out and had a look about and went, right, okay, I can get a price for you. And he went, Love Island, what is the deal with that? Are you guys really into it? I'm like, aye, mate, really, really into it. So I'm telling this macho Tyler guy about Love Island, and then I felt the need that I had to fill him in with the blanks, you know, about Luca and Gemma and all that kind of stuff, you know. And
I've never watched it, man.
it's amazing, isn't it? It is amazing. I don't mind saying that. I don't mind saying that. It is brilliant.
That's good.
Really,
There's too
really
much
good.
choice now, but see, when you go on Netflix now, there's about 4 million.
You spend more time trying to find something to watch,
Aye.
and then when it's time to watch something, you're just ready to go to sleep.
You get back to something you've seen 1,400 times. I just fucking put that on. Put it in
Remember the
background.
days like you would if you went to the video shop,
Aye.
and if you go to the Friday night, mate, you're stuck with it. That was
Aye.
you to Sunday,
Aye.
so there was no
Aye.
there was no you go into something and you go shite,
Aye.
shite. Whereas
Aye.
now, you know, it's not like it was back in the day. Everybody
Aye.
wants instant gratification. Remember I
Yeah.
said that before?
Yeah.
Everybody wants
Well,
everything right
but
away.
But you don't even look at anything. I mean, I'll say to him, I'm watching this great program.
Mhm.
You should check it out. He'll go to IMDb or whatever, Rotten Tomatoes, and he'll go, nah.
6.7. Nah.
If it's no
Needs
over
to be at least an 8.2.
And I've watched some really great stuff that's been under 7. But there you go. True story.
Fair play. Fair play. I remember when there was just 4 channels and then Channel 5 appeared.
That's that. You had to find somebody to tune in for you.
Family
Channel 5.
Affairs.
Family Affairs, man, that was brilliant.
What a show that
I'm
was.
always obsessed with that Family
Family
Affairs.
Affairs.
Aye, I remember that.
Unbelievable. Used to get the Sunday omnibus.
And Crossroads and all, I remember that was on. Was that on Channel 5? Was that Channel 3?
That was STV.
Aye.
Aye.
STV. Big Benny for Crossroads.
Aye,
That's
that's
right.
right.
That's
Minty, I
right.
remember there's a guy called Minty.
What's the worst job you've both had?
The worst job. I don't offend anybody.
I mean, if you top that community warden, I'll be impressed here.
If I what? Say that again?
If you top that community warden job,
Community
that
warden.
sounds horrendous.
I think. Worst job? I mean, I wouldn't even say that. I worked at McDonald's before that and I thought it was the greatest.
you loved
I
it.
loved working at McDonald's. I think it's
Yeah.
see for young folks like my nephews went for a job and like saw this, I'm not working at McDonald's.
Aye.
Honestly, see that, get
Aye.
that out because it learns you how to graft and you can make friends
Decent
with
money,
folk. Aye, you get money and it shows you a way of working. I'm trying to think. I'd probably say I mean the worst job. I suppose I could say I turned up at I get booked for a 7th birthday party once.
Right.
And that was I was being Jack Jester, a wrestler, and he was like, mate, we're getting this was right at the start. It's a 7th birthday party. He wants to come to wrestlers. He wants to come in the gear and all that. And we had to turn up to this person's house, man, and all that. Like, right, can you just go in the kitchen? All the wains are out in the bouncy castle out the back door.
God.
So I'm in this kitchen, right?
Leotard
Ta-
that one.
Putting the leotard on in the kitchen, right? Oh my God. And the garden, the path, right? The garden was so long to the end of the garden where the bouncy castle was.
Right.
And so she's like, the mom's like, right, you ready to go, Grado? I'm like, neighbour, all right. I've got your entrance music. I've got like a prayer.
Oh,
Oh
brilliant.
my God.
So she's got this wee hi-fi. I'm like, hi-fi. And I'm stunning this kitchen going, oh my God, man. Even waiting till it kicks in and all that. And it feels like home. Then I come out and I shall say. But you know that way, like, because the walk was that long, the ways are just looking at it going, who the f*** is that? Who's this dafty? Who's this dafty in a later, right? But because I'm trying to kill that long walk, I'm going, hello, he's dead. Oh, there's some slabs. There we go. Lovely days. No, how is it going? Where's the birthday boy? Come on. And they just couldn't care. None of the Waynes could care. And I'm like, Jess, what have you got me into? And then they're like, why don't you stay for a couple of beers? And I'm like, I need to go, mate. They were lovely people, but I just was like,
Oh, it's bizarre, man.
aye. Opened pet shops, done stuff like that. Opened a pet shop in East Bride. Opened a kebab
We're
shop.
opening a pet shop, we'll get a wrestler in.
The problem is what happens now, right? It can be quite embarrassing because see any like sort of, for example, I was in we were in Kilmarnock, my brother's like, there's this cheesecake place that sells cheesecake, right? And I'm like, I know what's going to happen. I'll get in there and they want me to get a picture with the cheesecake, right? And it does happen, right? Everybody, it feels as if I'm just going about all these kebab shops and to get my photo. And the cheesecake place, big day today, Grado was in and all this. And I'm standing with the cheesecake, and it's like every other day I felt as if I was getting tagged in. Grado's in the kebab shop, Grado's in this. And then you read the comments, who's that?
Oh man.
I can't top any of that.
Well, you've got your Abro Galladay.
Aye,
We covered that.
that was a good gig. That was a good gig.
Obviously, best job is the one you're in the now. I take it.
I've had some decent jobs actually over the years, but this is the most fun I've had.
Aye.
Definitely the most fun I've had in a long time.
Aye.
Aye. It doesn't feel like work again, you know. It's
Aye.
like,
Aye, it doesn't feel.
I mean, the radio show. I mean, that the 4 hours that we go in and we do it. We've got a brilliant producer, haven't we?
She's brilliant, Michelle. Michelle's
She's
great.
amazing. So I think that's the other thing: getting somebody who just gets it and
Aye.
gives us the stuff and the energy that we need, and it's because we don't turn up every morning feeling it, you know.
No.
You know, I mean, very occasionally we'll turn up, and one of us will be like, you know.
But that's what I was going to ask. What are the kind of biggest challenges for that early in the morning? You're obviously there 5 days a week. What's the hardest parts of it for the both of yous?
Sometimes it can be putting spin on things that you don't care about. Well, can I stop? Like right at the start, I would
Aye.
maybe like say something.
Aye.
Such and such Philip Mix is pregnant,
Aye.
and I'm like,
So the thing is, what we genuinely
cares,
don't
man?
do, we just don't do radio.
Aye.
We don't do radio because it just doesn't suit. It's like it then becomes a bit more kind of the listeners doesn't know what's coming up, you know. And I'm not saying I bring that. I mean, I probably bring the kind of let's get it back on track. But
Aye.
because Grado's, you can even just being here with you today, you can
Aye.
see, you know, there's loads of storytelling.
I quite like with this breaking the fourth wall a wee bit. Sometimes I'm obsessed with Howard Stern.
Right.
He's my hero. I love watching Howard Stern stuff on YouTube for like 1997 to about 2012, and I watch it all the time. And what I like about that is he kind of airs how he feels about other folk, like his other presenters, and
Aye.
we kind of like tell him what's going on backstage rather than. Do you get what I mean by that? If I'm not happy about something, or you know, I'll come on and I'll say like I'm crabbing today, man. You're doing nothing. Like, do you know, rather than you know talk about if somebody felt like Mix is pregnant or that kind of idea.
We're definitely talking about stuff that happens in real life that nobody else
Do you
would
get
touch.
feedback for listeners on that? Because that's how folk will feel when they get up in the morning anyway. They'll be like, I can't
Aye.
be bothered today, or I'm fed up. But if they're listening to you and that's what you're like, you can relate to that.
Aye,
That's
Because
aye.
it's kind of...
That's the most common thing we get when anybody comes up to us. They will say, "Look, you guys are just." It's the same
Aye.
thing, isn't it? It's
Aye,
like
you're
you
off
guys-
your head.
Aye, that kind of
Aye.
thing.
Aye.
Or I mean, I was out doing my rings the other day, which is you know your fitness
Oh,
thing,
the-
right? So
aye.
the Apple thing,
Aye.
right? Because I'm trying to get a wee bit fitter, and this car stopped, just walking on my own, just
Aye.
listening to the radio. And this car stopped, and this guy pulled out. He went, "Crofty." I'm like, "Aye, how you doing?" And I know as soon as somebody says Crofty,
You don't know how it's going to go at that point, but surely...
aye, as soon as somebody says Crofty, I know it's the radio. And he's like, "What's it like working with that big daft Grado then?" Right? And I'll tell you what, the other good thing is, you'll not mind me saying this, is, you know, he supports the other team that Grado likes.
Right.
Right? And he's like, I support the other team. You know, it must be a nightmare working with him. And I was like, but the thing is, he listens every morning, loves it. He could tell you everything that happened in the show. But I think the biggest compliment you can get from that is somebody was driving in their car and decided that they thought they could just stop and speak
Aye.
to us. And I
Aye.
think that's,
Aye.
he's got it. I mean, never go to a festival with Grado because people will stop him continually. But that's such a positive thing because people
Aye.
correct, and that is kind of what he's like anyway. So you get people who just think they can stop you and have a chat,
Mhm.
and that means you're doing something right. It
Aye.
means that you're approachable, you're likable, hopefully,
Aye.
and they feel like they can just stop and have a bit of a laugh.
Aye, it's
Aye.
like, I remember walking up the street once with Big Drew McIntyre, and walking up Sauchiehall Hall Street, and guys would be like, "All right, Drew, how you doing, mate? All right, got a selfie," and I was a bit intimidated by him, and with me, they're like, "All right, Grado, man, what's going on?" Which, you know what I mean? I try to take it as a compliment where they think, you know, that I'm their pal.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? That
Aye.
kind of idea.
Do you ever get used to it? Because it must be quite weird going for like having all your own time and all that to
Aye.
folk coming up and ask, like, but for both of you, like, even with that, you're just walking along the road.
See, be honest, it's a new thing for me again because I've been off being on air. I've been managing in radio.
Aye.
So this past 2.5 years, I would say that, I mean, I'll go to take my little boy to the local soft play, and people will come up and say, look, love listening to the show, but they're just dead nice.
Aye.
I mean, I did radio back when radio was radio, and it was like, oh my God, the guy from the radio's in the room, you know. And radio has become a bit more, because you've got social media and stuff, people don't see it the same way. But more people are stopping now to chat than when I was on, like, at a time where radio was a bigger deal.
Aye.
So
more accessible.
So
now,
well, the first thing, I can't believe I'm telling you this, but when that guy stopped, and this is a true story, right? So when that guy stopped, I was out doing my rings, right? But the first thing I had to do, I was raging because my missus wasn't there to see it. So every time somebody stops to say something, she thinks I'm making it up. Right, and I'm like, I'm going to have to start getting pictures with these people just to make sure. Because so anyway,
so secretly going, why don't you take a picture? And tag me.
Aye, is that a camera phone there?
But it's but I went back to tell her, you know, and it. So it's very new for me at that stage, and being on the radio again, it's a different side of radio. But I think you must get used to it. Actually,
I mean, I'd never ever take it. I mean, I would never ever complain about it. But, you know what I mean? It's meeting folk, and there's always one day when folk don't want to say hello to you.
Aye.
So you've got to think about it.
Aye, true.
Well, at the Ideal Home Show the other week there, and I've kind of seen him in action when people come up, you know, and he's really, really, you know, just the same with everybody. And there was this woman hovering around. And I always like it when things go a wee bit kind of different to what you normally would expect. Right, so he's clocking her, right? So we're trying to do something to camera. We're about to do a Facebook Live from the Ideal Home Show. So he's clocked this, and I'm like, he's distracted. I can see this, right? So he goes up to this woman and he goes, do you want a photograph?
I never said that.
You did actually say that
twice.
No, you did say that. You did say.
I'm going to swear so they don't use this.
No, don't.
That's not what happened.
It is right.
I've never went right a picture.
But you know, but you did. And honestly, mate, you did. I think
you had a phone out then. About doing, you want a picture?
By the way, I'll get our video guy to send you the clip, right? Because he got it in video, right? Anyway, but it was nice, but it was just like she was hovering about and she looked a bit kind of like scared to come up and ask him for a picture, right? And the best thing happened, right? She said, "Aye, that'd be great." She goes, "Which one of you two is the wrestler?" I was like, "This is brilliant." So, and we do have it in video, and it did happen, but mainly what happens is people will obviously know exactly who he is, but you get two different people.
But then you must get a variety, because you've got your kind of hardcore fans for the wrestling.
Aye.
Then you've got like the panto and that, you've got the radio, but then you've got two doors down as well.
Aye.
And it's probably a different fan base.
Oh, it's
from the other things.
Everybody, Wayne's obviously that love the wrestling and stuff like that. The pantomime, come to see the pantomime, and then you've got the folk that listen to radio, and then two doors down is like a different kind of different gravy altogether when it comes to stuff like that. It's always
for you, but going into that, because that's like your heavyweight actors and that, like Scottish, like Alec Norton and Elaine Smith and that. Was that daunting?
Of course. Aye.
By the way, see if you ever get Alec Norton, never say that to him. Remember I said that to Alec Norton?
What did you say again?
I said, what's it like getting into a sitcom and being surrounded with people like Elaine C. Smith?
You said that to Alec Norton?
I remember.
Alec Norton, man, he's like...
I was like, well, I was in a show called Taggart back in the day. That was quite big and all.
I remember that.
He took it the wrong way, you know?
Well, I suppose that, I mean, I'm sitting there, because obviously it's all filmed most of the time in Beth's couch, so I'm sitting there, Johnny Watson sitting there, who, like, I grew up every year, only an excuse, wow. Elaine C. Smith, I was obsessed with Abseen Nisbet, total legend. That you've got Alec Norton, Taggart, and everything else that he's done. I actually remember me for being on Renford Rejects when he played Elvis. It was on Nickelodeon. Do you remember that? It's funny. I remember bringing it up to him. He's like, man, nobody ever brings that up to me. But anyway, that's what I remember him for. Then you had Dun, who's like big on, what is it? She's singing Smack the Pony or Smack the Bit?
Smack the Pony.
Smack and Toast using that as well. And then Arabella, who's the Fast Show, who's pure legend down in London. And so you do kind of sit there and go, God, these heroes that have and enjoy as well and stuff. So you're like, it is, but it's great because they're brilliant for giving advice and telling you wee ways what to do it and how to try it a wee bit more like that and stuff like that. So it's like a total learning curve. Like every single day you're learning. And even the writers are brilliant as well. They you know, you can maybe saying a line and delivering it a certain way and the writer will come in and say, maybe you should try it like that, and you go, wow, man, I'd never have got that myself.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? The way, just how to deliver it. So it's amazing. I love it. And the fact that I loved it even before I ever went on it. It was my favourite programme. I remember my mate, Patty, you ever seen this Two Doors Down? I'm going, no, what's that? You need to see it. He says, wee Johnny Watson plays a guy, he's got their Armani gear and stuff like that, and he thinks he's a ticket. Well, that sounds good. And I remember sitting and watching it and going, whoa, this is dead funny.
It's brilliant.
And I'd watch it with my mom. Like, that would be a wee thing. I'd go into her house and sit and we'd watch Two Doors Down. So I love it.
It's relatable bit because you know folk like that. See when you watch it,
you can
like,
relate to everybody.
Folk in my street like that.
Exactly. We all know a Christine.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
That sits and she's always talking about how she goes on Facebook and she's all the kind of cleys that she wears and the way she talks. We all ken somebody look down with a vape.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Kathy's character and wee Johnny, as I said, like, you know, it's one of the guys who's always got the Armani gear on and the watch and we filthy Manchester, the Gore holidays, kind of like that. Just weed after he sounds like that. So it's brilliant.
You always get the folk at all, like when you hear your door going, you're like,
I know. Can you imagine him coming at your door? Brilliant.
Couldn't. But no right.
Aye, love it.
Brilliant. See, for the both of you, from kind of obviously you have done loads of different things. You touched on it a wee bit earlier. What's like the best bits of advice that you have had that's kind of stuck with you?
Best advice I've ever got is always just keep being yourself. Always just keep being yourself and being real. And that's what I always tell folk. There's no point of trying to be somebody else.
Aye.
There really isn't, because you're going to get fun out and it doesn't sound right and it doesn't sound natural, and folk can see, especially in Glasgow, in Scotland, people can see right through it. So the more real you are and true to yourself, then you're going to be more successful. I think.
Mine's a bit similar to that, I guess. It's don't do the easiest thing, do the right thing. You know, it's easy just to do something that'll do, but actually, if you really push yourself and do it right. Spend the time to get what you're doing right, and that could be anything. You know, it could be anything in life. It could be your job. It could be anything you're doing at work. But don't take the easiest way out. Do it right.
Aye, and don't have any fear as well. If you want something, go for it. And if you have to pester folk in an email, if you have to phone folk up, just do it, because what are you going to lose? You know, it's what is that saying? The pain of regret is always stronger than the pain of actually doing it. I know that's not the quote, but it's something like that.
That's a good quote.
It's like the gym. I remember it for the gym because I know that when I'm older, right, I've done wrestling. I know that when I'm 50 odd, I'm going to go, why did I not just go to the gym when I was a wrestler? Why did I eat right every day? Do you know what I mean? And I remember seeing a thing like the pain of regret is always going to be stronger than the pain of the path to get what you want.
Like that.
Like that one.
I like that. I do like that.
Instagram. Monday motivational quotes.
What about, I'm going to put you in the spot here, right? Is there anybody that you know in Scotland or Glasgow or whatever that you think would be good guests for the podcast, that are doing good things in whatever sector or career or industry that they're in, that you think they're quite interesting? I'd quite like to hear their story.
I'm trying to think who's a good person to interview. Oh, that is a good one. I could recommend. I would recommend Wee Toll.
I used to work with Toll.
Aye, he's hilarious.
Aye,
he's brilliant. Did a podcast with Wee Toll. He's a great storyteller as well, and you know what I mean. He's done well for himself. Aye. He really has. And that all just started with him just turning up at wrestling shows and talking to wrestlers and stuff like that. I'm sure he'll hate me saying that. That's how we go. Turn up at wrestling shows. I don't mean like that, but hilarious boy. Actually, do you know how I'm going to say as well? Liam Dolan. Do you know Liam Dolan, right? He's in pantomime, right? He does pantomime, Liam Dolan. But he's the funniest guy I know, and I'm not joking, right? He's so quick. He's hilarious. And the best, as I remember, no, he used to do the night shift on STV. Right. Remember that? The night shift on STV, and he was spinning roulette. Actually, I don't even know if I've told this, but I used to noise it up and send prank text it and get them to read it out, right? But he's an entertainer. He does like one-man shows and stuff like that. Right. But he worked for, I think he done Blue Peter, and he done This Morning years ago as well, and Disney Channel interviewed Britney Spears and stuff like that. But he's brilliant. He's hilarious. I'm going to give him a wee shout out. Liam Dolan. Nice. What about yourself?
Just trying to think, you know. I mean,
don't say Cliff.
It's a good book. You know, he was on
the news our week, but it was for stuff I don't really like to talk about.
He kind of addresses that at the start of his book, actually.
Does he?
Aye,
Does he actually?
Aye, he does right
See,
at
I
the
would
start.
just read that bit and then put the rest of it in. That's all I'm here for, man.
Aye, well, he addresses that.
Aye.
But aye, just... But I agree with Liam Dolan. He's...
No, you can't take mine, mate.
No,
That's-
but
You don't even know him that well.
I'm buying
Come
into
on,
it.
man.
But
Take
I mean,
Liam Dolan, man.
he is a nice guy, though. I mean, he was, I'd like to know what he did before Panto and all that. I don't know.
I'm trying to think, man.
I'm trying to think of
Do you know who Bob said? Do you know who Bob said when he was on this?
who did he say?
John McNally.
Aye.
The producer for
The producer,
Football
aye.
Daft. Aye. It's a difficult question, but I'm going to
It is
It
a difficult question
It is.
because you're thinking, can I say that person or whatever? That's a tricky one. You're right. You should have maybe sent the questions over.
This is why I said to him, like, we'll go for cuff. I'm like, all right, we'll go for
There you go.
cuff.
That's after cuts, but we're hanging about after cuff, isn't it? That's the problem.
I mean, we work with Lord Willie Hockey and Sir Tom Hunter.
Are they
Do you know
getting
what I
their thingies?
But you know, I mean, the business show. I mean, their stories. I mean, they do a business show
Aye.
on Go
Mate,
Radio.
we are no coming on a podcast and getting a shout out to up and comers to billionaires. Are you serious, mate?
No, he's talking about his stories.
Billionaires, somebody deserves a wee bit of recognition in that.
Well,
Sir Tom Hunter, you know,
Listen, it's real.
650 million he's worth or something. I give him a shout out.
But seriously, the stories, you know, their stories are brilliant.
Aye, no,
They are inspirational.
definitely. No,
They
they
are.
are. I mean, that is original.
Aye.
Like,
Aye.
inspiration stories
Aye.
for
Aye.
when you think about it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%.
I mean, for what you're talking about, you
Mhm.
know, local guys that
Mhm.
that took a route that's got them to where they are today. You know, really amazing stories. Apart from that, our boss,
Tracy as well,
Tracy,
aye.
Mhm.
Tracy.
Tracy.
She's got a great story.
She's got a great story as well, and I think I remember there's been stuff done on her like this influential women in Scotland.
Yeah,
And stuff.
right.
Yeah, she really is. She's an influential woman.
Tracy will be
Tracy,
raging. She
aye.
was last out there.
As long as we got her in.
But you know, about everybody else, there'll be at least another 10 or 15 folk that we see on a daily basis.
Aye.
Like that. Why did you not say me?
All right, you can fire them out.
Aye,
Fire
okay.
them out. Right, listener questions. I always need to vet these just so I don't get cancelled.
Right, okay.
A few folk had asked, what do you think the best thing is about working the girl?
Skip that one. That's a nice one. That's not a good one. Come on. Skip that one.
I don't know. I don't
Aye,
know.
that's a-
I don't know.
But boring answer, and it wouldn't it be?
Aye.
Wouldn't it be genuine? Come on.
Yeah, I know.
Be gone.
Aye, true.
Who we kidding?
Aye. Aye.
Oh, man. That's tremendous. I need to raise this, and people have asked, and I spoke to you before we started recording. It's more for Crofty, but it touches on a guest that I've had on before. So a lot of people are saying how distracting is Grado, but when I had Stephen Purden on, I asked him the same question, and he gave me a point where he was first met you, and he's like, I wasn't sure about this boy at all. Try to do my scripts and that, and he's asking me what I had for my dinner. He says, do I like vol-au-vents?
Aye.
Every random thing you can think of. So
Mm. That's Bob, innit? That's wee
Well,
Bob.
I mean, see everything. I mean, I heard the Stephen Purden interview, and I messaged you, said I liked it. I thought it was a really good interview. But see everything Stephen Purden said. He's a one-trick pony. That's his repertoire. Wherever he goes, how do you make your macaroni? You know,
It's an icebreaker.
That's exactly.
It's an
the same-
icebreaker.
It's the same repertoire.
Um,
Distract. What I will say about the distracting thing,
Mhm.
he is a bit of a distraction.
best thing about being in the ICW, a few people asked that. And did you get any bad injuries?
ICW was brilliant because it was like an underground thing that got big because we had documentaries on Vice. We'd done a documentary. We'd done a documentary on BBC.
Did you think it would get that big when you first started?
I
doing it?
remember seeing a documentary when we got showed it a week before. I went, I think this has got to kick off. That's brilliant because it was real Scottish and
Aye.
just like a success story. A group of guys like doing well with the wrestling. But I didn't think it would take off as what it did because it ended up on American Netflix.
Aye.
So and it was originally meant to just be on BBC One Scotland,
Mhm.
but like a couple of days before they went, no, we're putting this on UK wide. So I knew it was going to be a bit of success off the back of that, and it was. We ended up doing 5 or 6 UK tours. We done it in tour buses. So one night we would be in Sheffield, and the next night we're in London, and up to Manchester in a tour bus with your pals, doing what you love doing and getting paid for it. It was amazing, a brilliant experience. Other wrestling, my wrestling, I've loved everything about my wrestling career. It was amazing.
What about injury-wise?
Injury-wise, I'd probably say the worst one was I was wrestling in Universal Studios in Florida, and Drew McIntyre, I don't know if you can wrestling moves. He done a German off the top rope. For me, I was at the top rope, so he throws me back, and I landed on neck first, but my head sprung back.
Right.
And I was knocked out, dazed, and the next minute I was through the back, and it was a concussion that I got, and the guy had said, you can't fly, don't fly, and don't wrestle for the next couple of weeks.
Right.
But I had to get a flight home the next day to wrestle the next day within 48 hours. And he's like, you can't do that match. But I did the match just because it had been built up over the summer. And on the show, daft, but I ended up doing something for the top of the stage, which was about 15 feet high. And the other guy that was wrestling, a guy called Bram, kind of jumped off the top of the thing 15 feet through the table. But when I went through the table, again, my head sprung, but this time it sprung forward. And I concussed myself again. And so and after that, I need to take some, because I was really, I should have really went to hospital, but my nose was bleeding and it was horrible. I've broken ribs and stuff like that, but the concussions are definitely the worst. And sometimes, it gives you the fear a wee bit when you see these Netflix documentaries with stuff with like concussion and what can happen with like injuries with stuff like that. So I'd say I've probably had there was 2 concussions, and I've had another 2 on top of that concussion wise, when I've been sick after matches, when I've had my bell rung. It's horrible.
Must get the feel though as well, like when you're actually doing all these moves.
You don't really know. You don't, because adrenaline takes you. Because see, at the end of the day, you can break your neck for taking a clothesline. You know, which is what a simple move in the wrestling. But so I don't just really think you have a fear about it because of the crowd and it's the atmosphere and stuff like that. And usually a lot of the time it's the pain never really kicks in until the next morning anyway, because you're on such a high for the match. You know, there's really a lot of stuff that you know, if somebody was to give me a chop right now, a chop across the chest, it's agony. But when you're in a match with a crowd, you're like, geez, come on.
You're ready for it. Fair play to you, mate. Biggest on-air disaster you've both had?
Well, I've told you that, I think.
What was that one?
Day one. When
that's
aye. It couldn't get any worse than that.
Has there been any more, what we think?
Nah. Not to that level.
What did the gaffer say about that? But first day you're at the count for 45 minutes.
Do you know what? We probably didn't tell her right away.
I
think
we've just grasped ourselves up.
No, but she definitely knows, because she always finds out. And I thought, I'm gonna have to break this to her at some point. And it's a much more gentle process if you I've told her first. So she definitely knows about it. But the first show, it couldn't get any worse than that.
There's an awful fault that have been cheated that have ended up being quite short ways, or they've took things the wrong way.
Aye, but that happens.
You know, kind of peed off would you call it a mind reader once, didn't there? He kind of that happens.
Aye,
you get.
But were you just querying his gift?
I try to kind of noise him up a wee bit. And I was like, I don't think this is funny, which is fair enough. Do you know what I mean? That's his job.
It didn't help though that I was trying to share my psychic experiences.
He thinks he's got a third, didn't you? You think you've got a wee bit of that third eye here?
Third eye thing, and then the guy thought I was taking the mick out of him after that. Whereas he set it up, and I should just have left it. But I thought I'll try and save it by connecting this guy, you know, and talking about stuff that has happened to me, and he just had none of it. It never ever aired though. It was a pre-record. It never ever aired because the guy was so annoyed that he just.
That must be.
Watch, man, you can't offending folk and stuff like that.
I suppose it's good though if you're pre-recording it rather than being live.
Which, by the way, we don't do a lot of pre-recording interviews because I always think, let's just do it. If it does fall on its backside, then do you know what? We can get something out of it. Because I always say that. See if something goes wrong, make the most of it. Like admit to it and go, oh man. Because Judy Murray last week. Judy Murray last
Aye,
week, we
that's true,
forgot
yeah.
we were meant to interview Judy Murray,
Mm-hmm.
but we totally forgot about her. She was sitting in the Zoom for half an hour while we were interviewing Mark Owen. Wednesday 10 hours later, we had a message from one of her. Judy was sitting in her Zoom for 25 minutes. Well, initially we were like, oh no, that's really bad. But then we're like, just let's be open about it. Let's just
Aye.
say, by the way, folks, we might have Judy Murray on this morning, but we forgot all about it. But we hope she enjoyed the Mark Owen interview and she's sitting listening to the show.
But she came back on
She
Friday.
She was brand new.
And she forgave us, and you know, I think that's the other thing about the show as well. You won't get that anywhere else,
No.
really. You wouldn't get that. You would just leave it and move on.
At least she was good about it and on.
Aye, she was.
Aye, and even if she wasn't, it was out there anyway. It was part of the gig,
Aye.
wasn't it?
Aye.
It was part of the gig.
Cheesy radio question. Somebody has asked if you were doing a concert, you can pick 3 artists each. Who would you have there?
Mine's would be a lot different for the music that we play in the station because I like metal.
Right?
So mine's would be 36 Crazy Fists. You ever heard of them?
No.
They're a band from Alaska. Do you know who 36 Crazy Fists are? I know he would. I know about them. 36 Crazy Fists. I'd probably pick them. Metallica.
Right.
They're my favourite band. Second favourite band of all time. And then the third one I'd probably I like Liam Gallagher. I'm going to see him on Sunday. Liam Gallagher or I think I actually like Duran Duran and all. I'd probably have Duran Duran there to spice
It's
it
a
up.
big random man at the end there.
Aye.
Yeah, we'll take the 4. We'll get the 4 on.
Aye.
What about yourself, Crofty?
Rick Astley. Might be a surprise, but I'm a huge fan of Rick Astley. I've been a fan since I remember when I was at high school. Me and my mate, he was into NXS and I was into Rick Astley.
Right.
We went around the whole school to ask them who their favourite was, and Rick Astley came out top. Incidentally, surprise. And probably Garth Brooks. I'm a huge country music fan,
Right.
and I had the chance to go and see him in Dublin, and then he cancelled because he couldn't do any more than 4 nights or something. They wanted to do 7, so
Right.
I missed that. So I'd love to see him. And the last one is probably Peter Cetera.
Who's that? You
Power,
can imagine.
power ballads.
Is it?
Peter
What
Cetera.
does he sing?
He was in Chicago. He's the lead singer for Chicago.
Mate, Karate Kid.
Aye.
Done songs for the Karate
That's
Kid.
it. See?
Aye.
I've not saw Karate Kid.
What?
No, I don't.
The
use
original?
that.
I'm joking.
No, I've not. There's a lot of films that I've not saw.
Aye.
Mate,
Those are
I'm
my
really
favourite.
bad, man. At least I'm always getting bammed up. I've been told that there's a lot of stuff that I've really noticed film wise that I've not watched. It's
Aye, told right into his films, isn't he?
Aye.
Can't believe you've never seen the original Karate. You better bring us out tomorrow. Never
Aye.
seen the original Karate
Aye.
Kid?
Aye.
No, there's a lot. I've not seen Rocky. I've not seen that.
What?
I know, that's mental.
None of the Rocky films?
No.
Wow.
Would I still like it now if I went to watch it?
No,
Aye.
Hulk Hogan's in it.
Thunderlips, I know that.
Aye.
Aye.
Mate, they're timeless.
Aye, they are timeless.
Can't believe you've never experienced Rocky 4
No.
with Big Ivan Drago.
Lord of the Rings, I'm not
Oh,
sure.
aye.
Is that one of the always folk always got? Is that? No.
Go to Rocky first.
Aye,
Right.
definitely.
Rocky, Karate
I've
Kid.
seen Shawshank Redemption. Seen that.
It's a wee bit different for Rocky.
Goodfellas, I saw that and all.
Classic.
What else films have I saw? Hinkman.
Aye.
What else have you know, so? That's what I want to know.
There's
Top
loads.
Gun. Not seen that.
Not seen
have I?
Top Gun, no.
No.
Not seen Top Gun. I've seen...
You need a night in.
No. I've never watched The Godfather in full. Never watched the full with The Godfather.
Is that because you get bored of it or you just...
I've got a bad attention span, man.
Right.
Really, that's why I like things like Short and Sweet, Silent Sunset. You know what I mean? It doesn't take a lot of attention. If I see when they say I get confused and all that, and I need to pause it and
Once
got a bad attention span.
Love Island's finished, you can get.
Aye,
into
maybe get
Rocky.
into it.
You all like Rocky. Rocky
Aye.
is.
Aye.
Don't read books and all that either. I wish I could be able to read books, but if I read a book, I read it and I go, oh my God, I'm reading a book. I'm reading a book. I'm reading a book. And then I get to the first page, I go, what did I just read? I can't take it in. It's annoying.
Is there anybody watching me reading this book?
Aye. But I like audiobooks and stuff like that.
Aye, me too.
Nice. Nice. Okay. I'm stunned. Stunned by the Rocky one.
I don't know.
Somebody had asked just a general life question. What's your biggest pet hate?
My biggest pet hate. Folk for Glasgow that say Sarnies. If I say Sarnie, I hate that.
I don't
You've
remember
seen
it
your
says that.
sarnies. Oh,
That
there's a
happened a
few
lot,
folk.
aye.
There's a few folk out there taking sarnie. A sarnie, you fancy a sarnie? I hate that. But yeah.
It's probably the vegan thing, because I don't really like talking about veganism. I know we have a joke about it, but as soon as somebody finds out that if you're eating at a restaurant and you're going to some of the vegan menu, it's just the same questions,
Aye.
Can you drink milk? That kind of thing, innit? It's all folk.
Aye,
Can you have
aye,
scrambled egg?
aye. What's the biggest thing you miss?
Aye.
Stuff like that.
Aye.
And actually, veganism is the easiest thing in the world to do. You know what I mean? And I was the biggest meat eater in the world.
Mhm.
So it's like, I have to then feel like I need to tell that story about, aye. Anyway, so it's really boring.
And folk that screech their forks down their plate.
Oh,
See that?
the noise. Aye.
Carry on.
Aye.
Used to work with a woman in the fire brigade that would eat a scrambled egg with a knife and fork and go, and I go, "Fuck, Jesus, down, man. Don't even cut up scrambled egg." Or folk that eat bananas like us.
Oh dear.
You've got a lot of pet hates
Aye.
just sitting at the top here, ready to go.
Aye. I think if there's any other ones.
Somebody asked what your favourite dinner is.
Macaroni.
Is it actually?
Aye. I love macaroni. I not been eating as much as recently, but asking you. I love macaroni. I really, really do like macaroni. What's yours? What I like to do now, but is if I'm going out, because I used to annoy me because everywhere I would go, I'd always need to try the macaroni,
Aye.
which would prevent you from trying other stuff. But now I like this thing. It's a kind of Americanized way now. I think you go to places now and I've got a side of macaroni. That's a lifesaver for me. So I can have a steak and have a
Aye.
side of macaroni and cheese.
I'm going through a wee Italian phase now.
Oh, aye,
Right
right.
into my pasta.
I love pasta. Aye. I made lasagna last night. Dinner. And what today, instead of using
Oh, here we go.
a bechamel sauce, this is what today I saw this guy smoking and grilling with AB. He's a big guy for LA, right? And he's
Right.
great. And what he does with his lasagna is, see, instead of the white sauce that you put in it, right, what you do is you get ricotta. I got it for 79p at a Lidl. We just feel it £2 yesterday. You get it? You get ricotta, cream cheese, put 2 eggs in it, right? Parmesan, parsley, garlic powder, salt and pepper, whip it up and put that instead of your bechamel sauce in the lasagna. To die for. To die for.
Is it better than the original lasagna?
Oh, aye, 100%. Aye.
Ooh. Try that.
A day I just love food. Food's my big thing, man.
Aye.
Love food. Love going out for my dinner. Love cooking and stuff like that. I loved it. Aye, didn't I?
Where's your go-to restaurant for macaroni?
Go to a restaurant for macaroni, place in Stevenson called the Pop
Right.
In. And he gave me his recipe once, and I don't even know if I want to disclose it, but it's on me. It's that easy. Boil your pasta,
Right.
put it in a microwavable jug, double cream, hundreds of grated cheese, wee bit of mustard, shove it in the microwave, and I'm telling you, man, it's tremendous.
I was expecting some big
No,
complicated
that
recipe.
doesn't
there.
need that sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes the easiest things are they didn't you right in the face.
Nice. Crofty, what about you? What's your go-to?
My go-to meal would be Buddha bowls. Loving them at the moment. I like
What's a Buddha bowl?
a Buddha bowl is a poke bowl, a Buddha bowl. That's what you call
right,
it. So
okay.
you basically fill your plate with, with a bit of chickpea curry,
Right.
maybe some spinach, some avocado, hummus, sweet corn.
Mm-hmm.
Just a plate of different foods that you just love.
Oh,
to
I
eat.
could go that
It
now.
makes you feel good. It's the stuff your body really wants,
Salivating here, man.
Restaurant wise, I can't really single one out. There's
You
like
get chucked out half of them for end up Then you get the one a couple of weeks
there's
ago.
there's a lot. With the Italian place.
Aye.
Aye.
What was it he said? Well, if you want to date, you write down
No.
you know
no.
better, biggin.
No. See, that's the thing about being vegan. It's the annoying thing. You go to an Italian, they don't make it easy sometimes to find what's vegan. It's
Mhm.
just put vegan on the menu. But anyway, I can't believe you brought that up. But so I like a variety of places. Rose and Grant's is a nice wee place for lunch. In the city centre. They do an amazing vegan square sausage. I would highly recommend that.
That's good after I
Is it nice?
It's actually
Aye.
right for vegan.
Yeah, really, really good. And there's a place in Carnoustie. I'd probably say is my favourite Indian. called the Ganges, and you just cannot get any better. Because my wife's from Crofty, and our family are up there. Whenever we go to visit, it's more for the Ganges than
the family. We'll cut in there.
That's not true. But, it's a great curry.
Love it. Last question for you both. If you could give advice to anybody that's wanting to get involved in radio, or it's something they want to do, maybe kind of school age, or what would you say to them based on what you've done?
Well, if it's radio, I mean, I was at Shots a couple of weeks ago to meet kids that want to do radio. If people are watching this and they want to do radio, what I would say is start, middle, and end. For any links that you're doing in between the songs, know how you're going to start it, talk about your wee bit in the middle, and get out. Simplest thing in the world ever. It'll make a community presenter sound immediately better. Right. And that's anybody who does radio does that naturally anyway. And another thing is, as Grado said earlier on, if you really want it, there's less opportunities to get in radio now. But when I first started, there was less opportunities, and then there was so many radio stations, and it became quite easy for people to get on there. Right. So it's now went back to where it was, in the kind of like early 90s, I would say. But if you're really, really into it and you really want to do it, and you're honest with yourself about how you sound, then you can make it happen. Right.
What's the question? I'm just trying to think, because what is it? Is it to be on the radio?
For based on what you've done on the radio, what advice would you give to like any young
content?
Kids?
Just content. I mean, I'm not on TikTok because I'm a wee bit too late to the party, but I think on any social media platform, if you're putting out content, whether it be YouTube, I think that's the kind of thing now, isn't it? It's just putting stuff out there and finding something that you can naturally talk about, and be if something's your passion, get right in about it. Get right in about it. If something that you love and you can talk about it and you want to tell the world about it, just start churning out content. A bit like you, what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Sit and try and start up a podcast. If you're going to do a podcast, make it something different that's different for everybody else. Don't try and do what anybody else is doing. I suppose that's about. My advice would be
yourself. Be yourself. Be authentic, and break the rules. That's the biggest advice I would give to people wanting to do radio now. It's less about being able to be really slick and talk up an intro or all that. It's about being more like this guy, being able to talk about stuff and connect with people. But you've got to have that in natural life anyway. It's be the person that people want to go to dinner with. Rather than coffee, because that's the thing.
What a line that is.
Well, it's true. That's kind of how I built my radio lineups over the years. I've not got it right every time, but most of the people I've worked with or put on the radio have been people that I would go to dinner with. They've got stories. They make you laugh. They're just interesting. They've lived. The ones that you go for coffee with are the ones that you just. They're not that interesting,
See, if I knew on in, if you say to somebody, we'll go for coffee, they'll be like, oh, aye, he's had it. There you go, that,
I mean, my deputy, James Maguire, I met him for coffee first, but we did go for dinner later. Do you know what I mean? And by the way, he's got a podcast, Drunk Therapy.
Oh, he made to say Drunken Therapy.
Drunken Therapy, is it?
Aye, Drunken Therapy.
He wanted us to mention it. But so it's taken me all this time to get his podcast in there, so thanks for the opportunity.
There you go.
No worries.
But sometimes you can go for coffee and you think it's just a coffee you want, and then you want to go for dinner with them. That's the theory. That's the moral of that story.
Yes, this is a guy.
Aye.
This is a guy.
Deep thought going into this. It's like a wee chart with, is this person coffee or dinner? Pros and cons. Before I go, when's 2 Doors Down coming out? I can't tell you how many people asked that.
No, I get asked every single day. DMs, and it's good, but it just shows you folk are wanting it. So I think, what did Elaine C. Smith say on the radio? I'm sure they told, maybe July?
Elaine C. Smith said that you maybe know more than she did.
Aye, she's not actually
Aye, but I think July was...
I'm going to say July. I don't know. Probably. I get tell April.
Right.
And then all the folk that I tell April... in May were going, I'm to 2 Doors Down happening in April. And I went, June. And now they're saying what's happening in July, so I don't know. It's all there. It's all in the can.
Right.
Just last year, COVID.
Aye.
We had to, when it was somebody got it on the crew. Remember, there's a crew of like 30 folk. Somebody gets it.
Aye.
We're all having to isolate.
Because you were a couple in, weren't you?
Aye. So it was like basically we Enjoy as well, who plays Michelle, my girlfriend in it. Her waters broke on set, like while we were filming an episode, which meant she was then out the game, and they could only film the ones that really out. Me and her weren't in.
Right.
But then we had to go 6 months later and pick it up, so it was bizarre because obviously my weight sometimes fluctuates. I mean, know that I'm saying I go for it. There might be scenes where I'm stunning at the door and it's last July where I'm, you know what I mean, 17 stones two, but when I come in, it's filmed in the January and I'm 18 and a half stone. I've just walked in the door and it's like, what's happened to him? I hope that's not the case. Hopefully they've fixed it, but it's already ready to go, and we've got another. We're just going to film another series as well. So that was series 5, I think. And we're about to do series 6, another 7 or 8 episodes, I think.
Brilliant.
And thank God he's in the Christmas special this year.
Aye.
2 years ago when he wasn't.
Aye.
Wasn't he good?
Thanks for bringing that up.
Beautiful, guys. Thank you both.
Well, mate,
Thanks
thanks
for
very
having
much.
us.
I've really enjoyed myself. It's like, as I said, I know we tried to get us on before, and I know you messaged me, and I'm always bad for getting back to folk and stuff like that, but I've really enjoyed it. Sitting here now, it's been
top job, mate.
Pardon gave me the lowdown, mate.
Aye.
He's like, what'll happen is
like,
he'll agree to it. He'll spend a few months getting you dates.
Ghost you.
Then you'll get a date, and that'll change. And it happened step by step, so he knows you well.
Oh, you got the full works this week, didn't you?
Aye. Got the full. Up until yesterday, I didn't know what was happening.
Aye.
Messaged Crofty, he's like, oh, I'm good. 11 o'clock.
Aye. You got a bit difficult with me. But thanks very much, mate. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Good luck with it. Good luck with it, mate.